and making other people think bad about this person. Right? So we need to express it, actually, I think, only when we feel it's necessary for everyone involved. But otherwise, I don't think we need to. And to always focus also on the positive one. We have a terrible habit to focus on the negative. When it comes to ourselves, that's where you get to self-loathing. Oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. But I can do 5,000 good things. And very conveniently forget that. That's when you have self-loathing. And then the same with another person. When another person does something, so there's so much, like our parents, they've done so much for us. But very convenient, we remember the one thing that we think is responsible for our trouble. I mean, I usually say that. We take Freud to an extreme. Right? We've taken Freud into an extreme, and that's just not healthy. And then the same is true for our sense of happiness. Our sense of happiness, we don't realize how happy we are. We don't realize how lucky and how happy we are. We sometimes think we're less happy than we actually are, because we think happiness means pay rise, means meeting friends all the time. You know, there's certain things we say as happiness, but just the absence of certain problems. If we remember every now and then, we appreciate much more of how happy we are. In fact, I told some people of you heard me say that during my visit this time. There's a psychologist called Keith Oatley, a Canadian psychologist, and he actually did a test on people. He asked them to keep a diary about how happy they are on a daily basis. So they wrote down, oh, today was just an average day. One good thing happened, right? And they wrote that down. But then he paged them unexpectedly and just said, how you feel right now? And I'm like, I'm happy. You know, why? Because I just had a good cup of tea, or I just had a place of good food, I just had a shower. You know, those are all little things that we just very conveniently forget. The absence of bigger problems. The fact that we can move around freely, we have legs and arms we can use, we have a healthy mind, we don't have toothaches all the time. I mean, when we have those, suddenly we realize, oh my God, I never really appreciated what I had. Like when I have these diseases, suddenly we understand how important it is to be healthy. And even when we're sick, not everything about us is sick. So we very conveniently focus on that one sickness. We get terribly depressed about it, but forget this is working well. Right? We could have much more happiness, actually, much more satisfaction, and we ourselves rob ourselves of our happiness by not sometimes appreciating the good stuff in our life. And then, instead of being happy for other success, well, we resent it, are jealous, and are miserable. Great. We're very good at being miserable. And actually we want to be happy. But we have that way of focusing in on all the negative. So we need to learn that in our dealing with Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, right? Look at the good qualities of the Buddha. Appreciate those qualities of the Dharma, how it can help us to really apply it. And then the Sangha. Amazing. I mean, Israel, I come every year to Israel, I don't go anywhere else. I don't want to go anywhere else. Why? Well, India, yes. But the other places, people are not as determined as here. I mean, I hope the conflict will be solved in Israel. But as long as it's going on, it makes people really mature. It really gets people to be interested in the Dharma, and you have a very dedicated group. You know, people things are going really smoothly. No one wants to practice the Dharma. So this is the only advantage of... Sorry. I'm not saying keep Bibi or whatever, but... no, but a point I'm saying, like, although there's all this problem, and I speak to people that say they're depressed about the situation and so forth, but see the good in it. It brings out this incredible Sangha. Nowhere else you have people so dedicated, so into it. Doing these retreats, although they're busy, although we have to work hard, all this, still people make the time to do it. They get together in groups, and although they're different groups and it's not like always perfect, but people do. They have a relative harmony that they share with one another. Like in Taiwan, the Dharma groups are like enemies. They're like, one Dharma goes to that group, he will never be invited to the other group. It's bizarre. I remember once Kitty Senjurishi went to Taiwan, and he went to a restaurant with the group he was associated with, And then another person from another center started speaking to Rinpoche. And the person who had originally taken Rinpoche to the restaurant just left Rinpoche on his own. He got so angry that Rinpoche talked to the rival. He took off without paying the dinner. This is terrible. This doesn't happen in Israel. I don't think so. So of course there's room for improvement, but it's really good. It's very rewarding to a teacher because people are so interested in it. And, you know, people are mature, so there's some great benefit no matter what the problems are. I mean, it's terrible. I feel it's terrible, but it makes people more mature. Suffering always matures people if they can utilize it in a skillful way. Right? Of course. Okay, anyway. So, based on distinction, based on devotion. The distinction based on practice. So here we should practice in the sense we make offerings, and most important, on page 20. Making offerings to the being of service to the Buddhas. Okay. And of course practice here is most important, and to listen what the Buddhas say. Right? Any teaching we receive, to always listen. Okay? And then with regard to the Dharma, it's not something to be revered, but to be internalized. And then the Dharma, the Sangha, we should learn to relate to them, to be respectful, share understanding, experience, and so forth. Okay? Alright, so anyway, I can't go, unfortunately, this is so big. I'm already making like 25 pages every session. Impossible. Now I realize, without explaining you some of the basics, can't do it. So this is the thing that stresses me out in this class. I was like, 50 pages at the end of the day. It's almost the end of the day and I've barely done 20. So I hope I can go a little faster as we go along, but a lot of it is self-explanatory. But I feel like I need to fill in some of the in-between for it to make more sense, to give it more life, if you like. Okay. Alright. So regarding the Dharma, not just, and it makes me think of something with regard to relating to the Dharma. There is a way in which the Dharma is also revered or respected, let's put it that way. And especially if you come to Tibetan society, you'll notice Tibetans never put a text or a statue or anything that resembles the Dharma, that's symbolic for the Dharma, on the floor. They never put their feet on top of it. So if you know about this, it's a great opportunity to be mindful. Of course, sometimes we forget. We don't think it's bad to put a book just on a bed. But if you're with Tibetans, they would even be offended. It's a little bit like taking the Torah and not using the stick. Don't they use like a stick to read it? You don't put your finger. I saw this at mitzvahs. They take a stick in order to not touch the... Is that out of respect?
Yeah.
You don't want to put your finger and kind of make it all oily and dirty. You'd use a silver. Yeah. So, I mean, I would never... If I know about it, I would probably be scared to touch a Torah, because I mean, such a holy object is considered to be very holy. And so I would not touch it with my fingers. I would always make sure in the presence of, those in particular, I would try and not touch it out of respect for it. So there's great respect for the written word, of course. If you know, in some of the Sikh traditions, there's a holy book of the Sikhs. They bring it to sleep every night and they wake it up every morning. It's bizarre, right? But it's actually just reverence for the written text. So that's beautiful because it makes us that more alert. It's just psychological. The book couldn't care less, right? But it's psychological. We revere, we pay attention. We don't just throw it around. So to be respectful, if you're with Tibetans, please, when you're in a teaching, don't put your book on the floor. Always put it on something like higher, like there you put it on the jacket, so on a cushion, right? On something that ideally you don't sit on, and you put it on top of it. It's just like, and you make it like a habit. You revere the written word. I remember my grandparents would tell me, don't put these things in there, Don't put these, we call them donkey ears. You call them that? Don't make donkey ears. My grandmother was obsessed about donkey ears. At first I was like, who cares? It's just a book. But then she understood the preciousness of a book. And so to treat it with respect, she didn't want me to make donkey ears, right? So anyway, that's expressed in the way it's revering the Dharma. Also, with these statues, they're symbolic. So they stand for something. there's this whole culture around them saying, oh, this Buddha looks ugly. Say the artist didn't do such a good job, but that's a kind of ugly Buddha. It's kind of saying, well, this Buddha sucks or something. I mean, it doesn't harm the Buddha, but it harms us. It leaves something, oh, that's kind of like, you know what I'm saying? So you say, okay, the artist, it's just to be mindful and to be respectful. And we have to do this with other religions too. Don't put the Torah on the floor. Would you put a Torah on the floor?
No.
But then you know already what I'm talking about. They would never put it, right? Okay. Would you, certain symbolism, you wouldn't just throw them around. Were you respectful? Yeah. So in that way, I think it's important. It's like there's a kind of reverence for certain objects, just for our own sake. The book doesn't care. All right. Does that make sense? And then the distinction based on recollection. So here it says there's different ways to remember Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, different distinctions. And then the next part is how to increase merit, because that's what we're doing. We have to increase our positive potential. It's very difficult to explain merit. What is that? Right? Positive karma, basically. That's what it comes down to. But it's something that gives us that, we all want happiness. So it's something that gives us, that has the potential to provide us with that happiness. It's like a, what do you call that? A capital. Like when you want to start a business, anything, you need some capital. So it gives you some capital. Just as a capital can help you to actualize, to do certain things. It gives you a certain freedom. So does that merit. So it's very important to accumulate merit. Okay, positive karma. So in the basis of our spiritual guides, so the most powerful objects are Buddhas and the Sangha. Okay, they are just. There's something from the side of the object. Well, it makes sense because they're animate objects that work for the benefit of others. So if we do anything that benefits Buddhas and Sangha, and I'm talking about sincere Sangha here, if they also work for the benefit of others, directly helping them, we indirectly help those people that they help. So of course it holds great value. So assisting a serial killer is a problem. Assisting a Buddha, that is. So assisting a serial killer in doing what serial killers do, serially kill. Right? That wouldn't be a problem. I'm not saying helping a serial killer, of course, in a different way. Okay. So therefore, there's a difference. The merit one receives, therefore, coming from one's own motivation. There's that, and the actual recipient from the point of view of what does that person do. So the way we accumulate Dharma, merit with regard to the Buddha and the Sangha is clear, right? Kind of like assisting them in whichever way possible, inviting them here, for instance, here with Ling Rinpoche coming here, like doing. I mean, also what you do is, assisting the Dharma, for instance, accumulating merit is working to make these courses possible. So a lot of people, they don't get a lot of credit. There are a lot of people, I don't really know who's responsible for all this. And many of you don't know. How does everything work so smoothly? How come these tankas are all up? I mean, once I set up the altar, it takes a while actually, It's not like, it's there. It's like every little thing takes time, arrange everything. So therefore, for the people who attend the courses to maybe think, I also want to volunteer because there's so much merit in assisting others, facilitating this to others. It's a great way of accumulating merit. You make the Dharma available to others. So you assist the Dharma in that way. So it's the motivation, of course. Don't expect thanks. Right? No, it should not come with any wish to, because that can be not very rewarding because most people don't know. They don't know. A lot of people don't know. So you just do it because that's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. If you're the only one doing something, you're so fortunate. Get all the merit for yourself. So it's not like, oh, no one is helping me. Look, they're all lazy. It's like, oh my God, I'm feeling so bad. They're not accumulating merit. I get it all for myself. Right? Sometimes you get frustrated. I don't want to do this because I'm working there. No, it's wonderful you're doing this. How wonderful. I hope everyone else will realize. But again, everyone else also take that opportunity. It's a bit like people are throwing 200 shekels and you're just standing there and everyone else is picking them up, right? These are the opportunities to collect a lot of merit, So those who are not that active, well, become active. You're creating the causes for you to have these opportunities in the future. I mean, if it's just for the sake of preserving the Dharma, do you want to be in the future, be in a place where there's no Dharma? It's not even heard of, can't practice it, and you continue with that balagan that we've been, in for so many times? So even if it's not for the benefit of all sentient beings, only for your own benefit, do yourself a service. Work towards the preservation of the Dharma, enhancement of the Dharma, if you find it beneficial. It's like if you find that medicine is good, you support the production of that. You support that it continues to be produced. If there's a certain food that is good for you, well, you support those who grow it. You make sure you grow it yourself, or at least support those farmers who grow it. It's natural. So this is very important in terms of whatever you want, work for it now, as in make it available to others. So that's a very powerful way to accumulate a lot of men. And this is the thing that pleases the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas most. Right? That pleases them most, that you work towards preserving the Dharma. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. So, therefore, very important. And I know people are great about this. I mean, a lot of people volunteer, it's wonderful. And we could just ask ourselves, is there maybe a little bit I can do more? To accumulate more merit, to make it accessible to others, but also to myself. If you want the Dharma to be relevant in the future, you have to do something. Absolutely have to do it. These are causes that give rise to the same results. Oh, I'm totally over time. Sorry. Okay, it's 10 to 5. What time was actually the break? I forgot. I do have to look at this. Okay. Teaching 17. Oh, okay, I'm not. I'm okay in time. The break is only at 5. Okay, great. We can go. We can go. Okay, it's only at 5, the break. Okay. Alright, so basically here, until this point here, I've explained... Okay, so no, there's a little bit left. So the distinction based on how to increase merit, so it's different from the point of view of the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. The way we relate to them differs a little bit, and it's common sense. It totally makes sense. And then the way to take refuge through commitment. How do we... Oh, okay. So this is the distinction. So we need to distinguish between those 3 objects of refuge, and we'll do a meditation in a moment. But so the activity is different. What we recollect, their qualities are different, our devotion is different, practice is different, so it's all slightly different. And just to internalize it more, I'll go through it. And then there's another subdivision that comes from before. The way to take refuge by knowing the distinctions is the second point, and the distinctions were just mentioned. And then there's the way to take refuge, where is it? The way to take refuge by knowing the good qualities. We already went through those. So basically this is the way to take refuge. It shows us how to take refuge. Know the good qualities, know the distinctions. So this we've done. And then through commitment. So through commitment, we commit ourselves from the depth of our heart. It's not just something we do on Mondays, but we forget about on Tuesdays. No, it's something that is on our mind at all times. It should be really coming from the depth of our hearts. To commit our lives to this. I mean, you can do anything you want. You can be a truck driver, a doctor, a nurse, whatever you want to be. And totally make this center of your life. Right? Because then you practice Dharma as a truck driver, a nurse, a doctor, a teacher, whatever you do. A garbage collector. I mean, you're doing great service to people doing that. Whatever you do, you can make it beneficial. I mean, people don't drown in their garbage. Keep them healthy. I mean, things that we think, oh, it's not really for the benefit of others. There's so much you can do working for the benefit of others. Assisting them, when they get married or whatever else they do. Okay, so much we can do. So we can transform into Dharma practice depending on our motivation. Okay? All right. So, therefore, we commit ourselves to the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. So especially to the Buddhas, we commit ourselves to them. Well, we commit ourselves to the Dharma too, but to the Buddhas from the point of view of seeing those as our inspiration, following what they do, following their examples. And then, of course, the Dharma refers to really making that the center of our lives, as I just described, and seeing the Sangha as our true friends. That doesn't mean our other friends are not our true friends, but in a different way, right? So Dharma friends are that which we share, that this deep connection we have between them. And you know, now with monks and nuns, I mean, many of the monks and nuns I wouldn't associate with if there wasn't the Dharma. But there's a sense they're also like me, they have these vows. There's a connected, you know, and just by reason of that, and you make it work, and you learn from one another, you rejoice in their success, and you learn from them. Okay? So this is through commitment. We commit ourselves to that. And here, the fourth one, it's difficult. The way to take refuge by refusing to acknowledge other refuge. So that doesn't make, we shouldn't, it's not saying we shouldn't take refuge in Judaism or Christianity or, you know, psychology or medicine. No, no, no. As long as they do not contradict, so this is on page 22, as long as they don't contradict the Dharma. So, I mean, we just don't follow a terror organization that wants to blow up buses and stuff. We just don't do that because that's definitely not in accordance with the Dharma. Okay? So certain activities we need to refrain from, so taking refuge in them, yes.
What about the belief, for example, that there is a God that things are predetermined or something? This is not, it's contradictory to karma.
Well, it's not, it depends on how far you take Buddhism. You know, of course, in a way, it contradicts some of the ideas, but you don't have to take everything. I mean, taking refuge doesn't mean you accept everything. If there are certain parts that you find helpful for yourself, certain parts of the Dharma, then you've seen the benefits and you commit yourself to them. And if it doesn't mean, if it stands in contradiction to your belief in God and your belief in God is stronger, well, then just choose that which does not stand in contradiction. So karma, there are certain aspects of karma that do not contradict to the idea of God. Then my actions have consequences in the sense that God punishes these actions or rewards me. Okay, and I should do positive actions instead of negative actions. Well, from that point of view, there's no contradiction. But of course, if God is a person and the law of karma is a law, a natural law, there's a contradiction. Okay, so just you take it. You see, you put your own needs together. I mean, if there's really a strong sense, but to also be reflective. Is it possible to have an entity that is omnipotent, that can give me my suffering, my happiness? Is that, you know, and it's all predetermined, that's a different part. But is it possible that there's a being that can actually remove my suffering? To reflect, to be, and then to make a choice. So I think you can practice Buddhism, you can even take refuge to a certain degree in the Buddha Dharma Sangha and still follow your own religion. Does that make sense? But you have to make sure that you don't feel an internal conflict. When that arises, you make a decision. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, so so what I'm saying here, so to not rely on friends who influence you in a negative way, right? I mean, we can still be friends with those people, but when we say rely on them, don't listen to them. Okay, they say shopping is the most blissful thing in the world, and this is the way to be happy. Well, okay, we may say, well, maybe there's something else that makes you happier. It's just a little cheaper and longer lasting. But you know, if in the end that's how they feel, that's what gives them happiness, let them be, and be a good example of someone who's happy without doing a lot of shopping, right? So we don't need to become under their, kind of be influenced by them. Okay. All right, so we start the next session. We'll start it with the meditation, and we'll just have a break now. 20 minutes is enough. We'll have a 20-minute break, and then we'll continue with the meditation.